Hey there. So, as you know, I've been talking a lot about regret lately. And as someone who studies emotions and kind of how they serve us and how to better manage them, this new book by Daniel Pink called The Power of Regret has really got me excited and intrigued, and especially with regard to my priorities about maintaining connection in the work that I do with all the different clients I have at different ages, and how there's these fundamental themes of people wanting to stay connected because meaningful relationships are so important to our sustainable well-being. And so, since all emotions, positive and negative, are useful in some way, this concept of regret being biologically engineered has made me wonder, what function does it have? What purpose does it serve? And a lot of the science is in this book by Daniel Pink, that is so great. But tonight I just wanted to talk a little bit about how regret makes us feel worse today, so that we can do better tomorrow. And this has to do with, we have three options for the way that we respond to regret. We can ignore it, or we can feel it, or we can think about it. And so, like all feelings, some people feel like feeling is for ignoring or avoiding. And the problem with that option is that we can get into avoiding things that need to be managed. And if we've done something that we regret, it can lead to shame. And we know that when we hide things that we're ashamed of, they grow, because shame grows in the dark. So let's say you ate something or didn't eat something that you should have, or said something or didn't say something that you wanted to, or did or didn't do something that you intended to do. You may feel this regret about it, like this deep, intense feeling like, oh, I should have done something differently, or what might have been, or if only, and that can plague us. And so we may not want to deal with that, so we avoid it. But what we know is that unexpressed emotions don't go away. They just grow, and they manifest in other ways, either physically or emotionally, in discomfort. And so it's important that while we may be tempted to delude ourselves that what we regret is no longer that big of a deal, chances are, if it hits some of our core values, well, it's going to resurface. So I think the best way for me to describe my response to these is to give a scenario. And so I thought about recently, my daughter, who's in high school, has been really busy and coming home late at night. And you know how this goes, right? You want to connect with the people you love, and then you're tired. And she may come in being really enthusiastic at late at night, and I don't have the energy to deal with it. And so I often wake up the next morning regretting how I handled the conversation the night before. And so if I choose to ignore the feeling of regret and say, oh, it's fine, it's no big deal, I mean, it was just one night, who cares? I may delude myself into thinking that it wasn't a big deal, and it's undermining or eroding the connection I have with my daughter. So avoiding may be a short-term solution, but long-term undermines connection, and it also usually will resurface in some other way if it feels uncomfortable and it's important to us. Another response to regret would be, feeling is for feeling. So if this incident with my daughter, if I were to take that feeling and just pile on the guilt and the shame and just get stuck in that feeling of regret, the thing that I wish I hadn't done, I wish I'd handled it differently, and just kind of go down that shame spiral, that also leads to despair, and also leads to disconnection, because I'm not healing the relationship or making the situation better if I'm focusing on how bad it was that I did what I did. And so another option to respond to feelings that we may not want to feel is to think about them. And so if we think about our regrets and think about how we want to do things differently, I really learned the other night that I didn't like the way I behaved, but I also really cared about the relationship that I have with my daughter. And so I used that as an opportunity to improve similar decisions in the future. And I was able to revisit to go back to her and have a conversation about that and say, hey, last night when you came in, I was really not in the best place, and I really care about you, and I want to hear what happened with your day. Could we talk about it now? Or it's not something I'm proud of the way that I handled last night, but I'd like to circle back and make amends. What do you think about that? And sometimes people think, oh, if I revisit something that's awkward or difficult, it'll just be more awkward and difficult. So I don't want to talk about it and go back to that numbing or ignoring thing, which chances are will not be gone forever. It'll resurface. So if you really want to use regret to your advantage and think about it, when we think, we learn and we grow. And thinking is for doing. And so the result can be better decision making in the future, improved performance, like I can be a better parent if I handle this situation differently and revisit it, make amends, do better next time, and also creates deeper meaning in our lives. So ultimately, our regrets can really teach us a lot about ourselves and our relationships. Thanks for watching.